Innocent people are perishing in the Middle East and I can't do anything about it.
That's actually not true, son. There's much to do about it.
Like what, Dad? It just fills me with grief and panic.
Son, everything you see that's happening out there is a reflection of what's happening inside yourself and the billions of other people on Earth. What if I told you that you ultimately decide how this ends? That depending on the choices you make, you can either help to achieve world peace or World War III.
I would say you're speaking absolute nonsense.
Well, your feelings of hopelessness is in alignment with what you hold as true. Nothing I can do about that. Call me when you think change is possible.
Okay, wait, your point is far-fetched, but I want to believe I can help. How does it all rely on me? What can I do?
Well, allow me to explain using the 3-step solution I'm using. Step 1, educate yourself. Once you get a clear picture of what's actually going on, you can no longer be swayed by media narratives and one-sided stories. Forget about the conflict for a moment. Did you know that Israel blocks off the African-Asian land bridge, serving as a literal wedge separating the Muslim populations of Africa from the Muslim populations of Asia?
Okay, but why would they want to do that?
Well, when you take into account the fact that Western empires have been actively destabilizing this region ever since World War II ended, it seems to me that the nation of Israel was placed strategically.
So not because they wanted to give Jewish people a home of their own after everything in World War II?
No, son. It's because the people who run this game understand human psychology. They understand that the abused becomes the abuser.
So they use this group of people's trauma as a pawn to just advance their plan?
Well, they interjected a highly funded, highly militarized, aggressively expansive, essentially Western presence into a region that showed all the signs of becoming an economic powerhouse with forward-thinking people and very valuable resources that, if allowed to develop, and God forbid unify, they can kiss their vision of a Western economic supremacy goodbye.
Oh, but the news is saying... Oh!
You finally clocking the play now?
Yeah. Free Palestine.
Now it's time for step 2, becoming emotionally conscious. Now there's an old African proverb that says, when 2 elephants fight, it's the ground that suffers. Now, do you think the people that are waging this war are threatened with the same consequences as the people, the innocent civilians who were just born into this fight?
No, but someone has to be held accountable for all of this pain and suffering.
Indeed. But how will there ever be peace if either side want revenge?
There wouldn't have to be revenge if they just freed Palestine.
Son, this is how the cycle continues, becoming emotionally invested and condemning one side. If you do not understand the nature of suffering, you will only add to it.
But Dad!
Don't you think both sides have felt tremendous amounts of suffering?
Yeah, one more than the other though, clearly.
Not if we take into account the millions of innocent Jewish lives that were taken in World War II, which cultivated the collective pain body that the elites are exploiting to further their agenda today.
Oh shit, I never thought of it like that. But if no one is to blame for these acts of violence, then who do I fight for? Who is to blame?
In order to achieve true peace, you can't choose a side. You have to take yourself out of the pain cycle completely, cease all blame, and act from conscious awareness only.
So how do you see it?
I am not on the side of Israel, neither am I on the side of Palestine. I am always on the side of truth, justice, and love.
Which is technically Palestine though, right?
In this case, yes, but the framing is important for the next step.
And what's that?
Step 3 is to unite.
Dad, that is the most generic advice I've ever heard.
And yet you don't even know what I mean, son. This conflict has never been about Israel versus Palestine. Instead, this is a spiritual warfare that's been taking place in the minds and hearts of us all since the dawn of civilization. Would you like to know the root cause of all of this conflict, both out there and within yourself?
Go on.
It's the physical veil that allows a parasite in our minds to be born and attach itself to us. That parasite is called the illusion of separation, and it makes you forget who you truly were before the world told you who to be.
And who exactly was I before the world told me?
The truth is that me, you, and everything else on this planet are ultimately one organism, interconnected through energy. Humans in particular are multidimensional beings having a human experience who can unknowingly shift timelines depending on their vibrational state. But they won't teach you that. They need you divided and fearful. Wait, I'm an interdimensional being? Did I shift into a sci-fi world or something? Does it look like I'm joking? You're constantly shifting into higher and lower timelines, timelines where world peace is achieved, and timelines where World War III occurs. The problem is that the inorganic ones who feed off the human fear vibration have you trapped in this matrix that's optimized to keep you in your lower energy centers. My lower energy centers? Yes, they have you believe you're this fragile ego who must cling on to labels like race, religion, nationality, sexuality, and the rest in order to keep this identity alive. And your ego will fight with its life to protect that. For deep down it knows the truth, that ultimately it's not real. This way they can keep emotionally manipulating you into using your free will to manifest more negative events onto this timeline. So this war is just an external reflection of our inner conflict. Don't you find it quite a coincidence that this is all happening in the place where Jesus lived, the role model for living in fifth dimensional consciousness?
Dad, I don't think I understood a word you just said.
Yeah, maybe that was a bit too much for you right now. But in simpler terms, you must embody the change you want to see in the world before it can come to pass. You want to end conflict and find peace? Fine. End the inner conflict inside yourself and find inner peace. Do not condone or give in to low vibrational activity and become a beacon for truth and love. So as I said before, you have two paths. Feeding the inorganic forces with your fear and blame will land you in World War III, while feeding the divine forces with compassion and realness for both yourself and your fellow reflections will land you in world peace, where love reigns supreme. So is the ending good or bad, son? That's dependent on you. See you at the protests.